Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first game of the first series of the day here at the ASUS ROG Dream League. We've got the sides of Ninjas in Pyjamas playing up against Burden United with myself, Odie Pixel, and of course Draskell. The draft is underway. What are we seeing so far? Quap and Undying being banned out by Burden United. Visage banned out by Ninjas in Pyjamas. And Andy, the thing that stands most apparent to me is the fact there's still an IO in the draft, and Burden United, they love picking up that tiny IO if available. And there's no respect bound for the PL from Sing Sing, which we sometimes see against the side.
I think PL is something that might not be respect bound worthy anymore, just like as a hero.
Do you think it's not as good?
It takes a little bit too long to get off the ground, I feel. And as Hanskin said yesterday in the winners interview, he doesn't really fear the Wisp Tiny, and they said that when they saw another team playing it, they just straight up said, we can beat that. So maybe they're kind of feeling the same way against Burden United, although the way that Sing plays Tiny is a bit more aggressive than most Tiny players. He goes for the Blink Dagger instead of going for Drums Aghanims, which I believe is the way that Vega ran it in the previous match that we saw. So first pick here from Burden. I would be surprised to see them skip over the Wisp, as Undying is already banned out. You often see that picked as a counter too. Gyro is available as well. There's a lot of really strong openings that you can take. Beastmaster in the pool, but I'm not entirely sure how comfortable these teams are with the hero. It seems like Vega are the ones, and maybe Empire a little bit, who really prioritize the BM. I
was going to say, I don't know if we've seen that much Beastmaster coming out from sides like Burden United or NIP, but we'll see if they deem it first pick worthy. I said, I think you were right with the Gyrocopter call. You know, Gyrocopter and IO, they're the two heroes that I wouldn't be surprised if we see early, and it is indeed the Gyrocopter picked up.
So NIP obviously going to be within the comfort zone of the Wisp +1 if they want to take it, and as many people who play the combination know, picking them together is always seen as very strong, because that way you know for sure that you're going to get your pairing no matter what. Now, showing it a bit early, maybe it's a little bit of an inherent risk, because then you can just set up a lane that can beat the Wisp and the Tiny in the mid, which we saw happen, which is exactly how NIP dealt with it in the first place. They just put dual range against it.
That was yesterday against Vega, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think there was like Shadow Fiend Witch Doctor or something like that they put up in the lane, and it was something that was a little bit too strong. But Wisp seemingly going to get through the pool here a little bit farther. The Chen is taken up here by NIP, which is a hero that we haven't actually mentioned yet. And we've seen the strength of him. The early game Chen is much better than it used to be, depending on what creeps you steal. And we'll see. NIP looking at one more.
Yeah, and I think this is a really wise pick up as well from Ninjas in Pyjamas, because we know that Burden United, they also love the Chen. Both come with me in my nuts. They're both very, very, very good on the hero, and I would have, you know, they would have surely taken it if it was still in the draft. But NIP indeed taking up with their first pick, and now following up with the second one. We'll see what else they deem first pick. And it's going to be the Witch Doctor. I was going to say the Witch Doctor will almost certainly see in the draft, because it's a very favourable pick against the Chen. Obviously can't be used against you if you grab it for yourself, so starting up there with the two support pickups for NIP.
I like the Witch Doctor because it's a hero who innately does well against Wisp relocates in general. Like we talk about the cask and the ability to chain stun somebody when they come in. It's just a hero that you can pick that doesn't give away your laning phase too much, and it also just says, okay, well, we have a counter to the Wisp in advance, just in case it does come out. And it seems like NIP were at least a little bit expecting that. Important to note that Chen and Witch Doctor in early game is great at being able to lane pressure. Those, like Witch Doctor is one of the best laning supports. Then you have a Chen who can rotate, maybe go for some early towers. Wisp is not really known for his ability to stop pushes. It's more like if you make it unscathed through the laning phase to mid game, then your relocate ganks are how you kind of push your advantage. And Burden are a team that even with a Wisp Tiny that played from a 0-5 deficit in the middle lane managed to come back even in that situation. So if any team can deal with this kind of early aggression coming out from NIP, I think Burden will be able to handle it.
Now, at this point, for the side of Ninjas in Pyjamas, do you think you seriously have to consider banning out that Tiny? Because you don't really want to let Burden get it, do you?
Burden is the go-to, or excuse me, Tiny is the go-to for Burden. That is definitely the hero that you're going to want to take out. And right now, Burden just looking at banning other heroes that are very good against relocate. They saw the success of Limp's Puck the other day.
Yeah, it was really
especially
impressive.
After he got Aghanims. The Tiny's BKB pretty much mattered for nothing. He got stunned for 4.5 seconds, couldn't really do much of anything. And relocates or not, they were not able to secure that game for Vegas. So now NIP, I wouldn't be too shocked if they just waste the ban. Well, not waste the ban, but they're gonna like put a ban towards Tiny, I would guess, unless they're really not scared of it. But I don't know. I think Tiny is just a little bit too strong to give away.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said as well, we've seen how good Burden United are with the combo. You know, we've seen games where they've had a terrible start, which might be the case if there is going to be a Witch Doctor and a Chen on Ninjas in Pyjamas. The mid lane is going to be hard because there's going to be those ganks in. We might see the Witch Doctor sit mid in the early game, harassing the Tiny's farm, but we've seen Sing Sing be able to come back from very, very bad starts with the Tiny IO combo.
As long as he's able to get to the Blink Dagger, it's not too bad. They're going to take out Necroman's Storm here. So maybe they're assuming it's either going to be support gyro or the gyro might just be paired with a Wisp. That dual lane is a lot harder to stop. It doesn't have quite the same snowballing potential though, because you're not going to have like a guaranteed disable into insta-kill combo with a Tiny. It's more just like, it's a very stable start. And sure, you can relocate and you can go for the call down after you come into the team fight, and that's all well and good, but maybe Nip really just not worried about the combo in general. Maybe they just feel that confident that they can beat it.
I don't know, man. It's bold moves here from NIP. Burden United now with a 4th ban in the draft. It's quite an open playing field for Ninjas in Pyjamas. I guess picking up the Witch Doctor and Chen doesn't really reveal too much about your lineup, and they've got a lot of ways they can go. So arguably, it's a little bit harder for Burden United in this banning position now than it is for Nip.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to ban a support, I don't think, because the Witch Doctor and the Chen are already picked up. So you're looking at other mid-heroes that could potentially lane against the Wisp +1, and Puck is the forefront of those, because if you were going to pick Tiny, we saw how easy it was for Limp to phase shift a lot of the incoming damage during the laning phase, and it didn't really matter too much what they did to him. It was just like, yeah, you can't do much at all, so... Now, I mean, Shadow Fiend is another one of those heroes that we often see put in that position. Era loves to pick it up. It's very good against Tiny as well, but they're going to go ahead and ban the Lesh, something else that Era has been known to run here at the ASUS DreamLeague.
We did see the game. Who was it? It was against Na'Vi, I believe it was the other day when they had the Era on.
It was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the day before, wasn't it? Because yesterday was the 2 series of Vega, and the day before was the 2 series of Nip, and it was on that day where they had it, and I believe it was the only win of the day, but it was a very impressive performance on Era on the Lesh rack. And again, one of those games where he didn't have a fantastic start, but even in the latter portions of the game, even when the other side picked up BKBs, he was able to stay in the game long enough that the BKBs went down to 5 seconds, and then suddenly Lesh, he's a massive late game issue, and he does so much damage in the team fights. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, they do ban out now a combination with the Eye, but they're going for the Bristol back, so totally overlooking the Tiny here. The question is, do Burden United go ahead and pick it? And I think they might do, Andy.
It could be more of a concern for Nip that the Wisp and +1 would actually go to the off lane and thus focus the attention of the Chen on the safe lane of Nip and just say, your rotations aren't really going to matter as much to us, or if you do rotate, we're just going to punish your safe lane. So Nip might have something in mind for their safe lane hero already, and they're going to go with a very stable hero and the Viper. He should still do very well if he gets like one hero sitting mid with him. Now, if that happens and the Chen's in the jungle, that means the Chen's going to have to put a lot of his time towards the safe lane, depending on what carry they go for. Now, Viper could still also be safe lane. So it's not set in stone what Nip has to do here. It's just a lot of ambiguity behind the Witch Doctor and the Viper. Where are they going to go? Burden, I think they're actually... They're not behind in the draft, but they're kind of in a situation where Nip have the advantage in lanes and not knowing what exactly you're going to run, and they're all very sustainable laners. Like Witch Doctor and Viper, Chen, they all have very good early game momentum. A Wisp partner is usually a melee hero, right? And that automatically means in the laning phase, you're going to be kind of in a deficit. So how Burden are going to deal with this, I'm not quite sure. You do have Gyrocopter, but I'm assuming that's just going to be Necroman's hero, and he'll either be safe lane or maybe he partners with the Wisp in mid.
Yeah, I think Necroman's the one we normally see on the Gyro. Bane's going to be the pickup, so still avoiding that Tiny pick. But again, if they wanted the Tiny, maybe at this point they feel, well, they haven't banned it out against us yet. There's no point picking it up now. We can wait until our final pick to decide whether the Tiny is going to be the best combo for this lineup.
And Nip are clearly not afraid of it, so there's no reason, I think, at this point to pick it up, and it is definitely a good point. Now Nip, they're going to go with the Brood.
Tiny would be nice against that with the old cleave.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but you don't actually have it until a good portion into the game. Like, say Burden want to go for their standard Blink build. That means your wave clear consists of the Gyro and then the Tiny. Wisp spirits are okay, but you know, it's a Brood. You're going to have a really bad time, and you don't want to really move the Wisp around to just counter push against that hero in the first place. So after seeing the Bane, I think the Broodmother is a very solid pick, kind of puts a wrench in the game plan of Burden here. Both their supports are very weak against the hero. Like, if Bane gets sick, sure, you can Fiend's Grip if you have detection and the Wisp can relocate, but Brood is an elusive hero in his own right, or her own right, I should say.
5 seconds.
Well, we're going out for the 4th pick, and it's going to be Axe for the side of Burden United, so we would almost certainly expect to see Paris on that on the solo lane. So we are still missing that mid lane hero, and it feels like a Sing Sing hero because I'm kind of more used to seeing Necroman on the Gyro. I'm pretty sure he normally picks it up when they get the Gyro, and they let Sing go towards the mid lane with the IO combination. And I don't know, man, the Tiny would just be so, it would be so Burden United to pick it up. It's what we just kind of expect from them.
It would be a lot of aggression, like having a double blink initiation team with the Tiny and the Axe, having Bane and Gyro to follow it up. Like their team is built to fight. And it's not that Nips isn't, it's just the Broodmother is one of those heroes that we saw it the other day become kind of a liability to the team. It's just not really being able to contribute much in the way of fighting. And if you are forced into a position where you need to fight, then your lane push presence is lost, and that's kind of why you picked the hero in the first place. You want to always be drawing attention to the Brood, not making the Brood move around. So there are some risks, I would say, with the Brood pick here from Nip, and hopefully they can get what they want out of it. Maybe if they had planned on picking Brood, I think banning Axe would have been a much better choice instead of like Bristleback, for example. Because then even if you do have a dual off lane with a Bristleback and an IO, you have a Brood that has a free lane, more or less. Because against Bane Gyro, you might take some harass, but you're never going to die. And then they don't have enough wave clear to deal with you once you start getting levels.
Reserve time.
And the final ban from Nip goes for the Zeus. The final ban now from the side of Burden United. They take away the Lina, so anticipating that it is potentially going to be the safe lane Viper. So worried about the Lina being picked up in the mid lane here for NIP's lineup, which is, to be fair, a position that we haven't seen Lina being played in for quite a while now. I can't remember the last time we saw a Lina mid in competitive here at League play, at least.
Which is weird because it's still really freaking good. Like they didn't really nerf much about her except for the fact that Aghanim's Laguna is no longer increased range. So you just have normal Laguna, but it still hits for 975 damage. It's completely insane. So I would not be surprised to see teams maybe go back towards that a little bit later on. And Nip gonna end things off with the DK. So you were right, it is going to be a Viper safe lane, at least for the time being. And this lineup has some serious pushing potential out of Nip. Their team fight is pretty mediocre though. And Burden could look to go pick up that Tiny and just have a ton of disable and a lot of team fight potential, and it could be quite scary for Nip, I think, during the mid game.
Indeed, with this final pickup. At the same time, I wouldn't be too surprised if they just slip in a Sing Sing PL, you know, and swap the roles around.
It could be, yeah.
Oh.
If they pick Sing Sing PL, that would mean Sakshka Axe, Necroman Gyro. Yeah, they could do that.
I think PL... Okay, Sing Sing Mirana.
What?
So, right, okay. I mean, it is going to be Sing Sing on Mirana. I think the last time we saw Sing on the Mirana was back at the D2CL LAN. It wasn't great. They didn't have a great game at all. But they're coming back with it. We're going to see Sing on the Mirana this time. It will be indeed Necroman on the Gyro. And in terms of lanes, I guess it will be the Mirana mid up against the DK, looking at the lineup.
Yeah, but that's still really awkward. Like, Mirana... Okay, so you have a Chen army. You have Brood Spiders. Why are you picking Mirana against these heroes? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm just like, I'm curious. Like,
what the thought process is.
You do have some wave clear. You have the capability of using the ulti to get good initiations, which could be why they picked the hero in the first place. She is very self-sufficient. Like, she doesn't typically need help in her lane. Her base damage is mediocre, but she can't really get ganked. So if you're playing it as a farming hero in the late game, Mirana can be very devastating. There's no doubt about that. It also matches up decently against Viper for the same reason that a lot of carries suffer is they don't have escape mechanisms, but Mirana does. So I can see the benefits of picking it. I just think Nip, they want to just fight with 4 and have the Brood be like pushing a lane all the time. And is the Mirana going to have enough influence in this game to warrant picking? Because I think a lot of it's just going to be down to his arrows, because that's what you always think of when you see Mirana.
It really is, and let's see if the arrows are going to be on point today here between Burden United and Ninjas in Pyjamas. The first game of this super weekend getting underway here at the ASUS ROG DreamLeague. On the side of Burden United today, on the Radiant, we're going to have Sing Sing on his mid lane Mirana by the looks of it. Come with me at the moment, heading towards the top lane on the Bane. And at the bottom at the moment, we've got Minats on the IO. He's going to be supporting up Necroman on that position 1 Gyro. And finally, Paris here on the Axe. By the looks of it, I guess trying to match the Axe up with the Broodmother, and then in return, looking to run a potentially aggressive tri-lane from the side of Burden United. And I'm OD Pixel, I'm here with Draskell. And Draskell, what are we seeing in terms of lanes coming out from NIP?
Well, first here we're going to have Jonas chilling on the cliff here. He's going to be playing Brood. Towards middle lane, Limp is going to be handling the Dragon Knight. And then the top tri-lane, we're going to have Seal Kid on the Witch Doctor, Handskin on the Chen, and then finally Era is playing the Viper.
And it looks like the side of NIP are ready for the aggression. They've got 8 tangos on the Viper. He's ready to deal with a lot of harassment, and they're certainly going to get that with this potential lane here on the top with Come With Me. And, of course, Necroman here on the Gyro. Oh, they're going to look for the bounty rune here at the bottom. Paris, he will be able to find him. Burden United able to secure themselves both bounty runes as Sing Sing claims the top one for himself. And Let's see how the lanes settle out at the moment. Well, actually, okay, so it's going to be Sing Sing. He's going to go to the top lane on his own on the Mirana. He's going to have the support, the Bane, to set up those kills, and they will put the IO combination mid, so it'll be Necro Man farming in the mid lane.
Yeah, it actually makes more sense after seeing the lanes from Burden as to why they wanted to pick Mirana. Because if you think about it, if it's just one support and a jungler, if the support is by himself, a Bane into a Mirana arrow is just death. Like, you get Nightmare, you get arrowed, you can't do really anything about that. You're just going to go down. So, in a way, Burden are kind of pressuring by having the support not really able to do anything in his own lane. And that should mean that Mirana gets a decent amount, because you can see Era's positioning in top. He's very scared. He does not want to go up into this because he realizes that, you know, you're going to take harass like that.
Yeah, he takes an arrow to the face there, but yeah, we see him already getting those points into Corrosive Skin, ready to deal with the aggression. And bottom lane, the spins are real. Paris finding a lot of damage here onto Jonas and Fan. He'll have to hang about in the webs for a bit of time. Pops down the sentry as well, just to check to see if the side of the Radiant do have vision upon him, but there aren't any sentries at the moment down here for the side of Burden United, so the Spider's going to be safe.
A lot of this game is reliant on, I think, Burden's early game. How much pressure can they apply with the Spain Mirana off lane? The middle lane is clearly going to go favorably for Burden. There's no doubt about that. So I would say on paper, Nipper actually pressured in the early game just by virtue of they got a matchup with the Brood that is not going to be super easy. So no one else really has to come down here. And Jonas is even struggling, sitting at like 20% HP. Sakshika's been more or less a spin lord so far. And then mid, you have a dual lane versus a solo DK. And then top lane, you have another lane where it's like Burden have kill potential. So I would even say that Burden have a pretty good advantage here.
Yeah, I certainly feel like the lanes are very strong for Burden. And then also just looking at the fact that NIP, obviously with this Chen in the jungle, where does he go for the ganks? You know, who can he look to take down? It's two dual lanes on either side of him, both potentially going to be very hard to catch out. Sing Sing with the backup of the Bane. Was left alone a little bit there, does take a bit of harassment, but he's able to salve himself back up as Come With Me will return to the lane. But it's going to be a hard game for the Chen to make action happen in the early game.
I think the best place for him to go is actually bottom, but it's so hard to actually do that he might just say, screw it, I'm not going to gank, I'm just going to go for the standard Wildkin jungle, stack it up a bit. He's got level 3 right now at 2.5 minutes, so if he makes his way towards a very early mech, he might be able to influence the game just by having a good amount of farm, and when Nip start doing that 4-man Dota while having the Brood push bottom, they'll have the mech at their disposal.
And bottom lane, Paris having a fine old time here. 11 for 5 at the moment against the 6 for 2 on the Brood Mother. Jonas and Fan having a bit of a tough old time down there. And I guess we can expect that from an Axe Brood Mother matchup. It's going to be hard for Brood Mother to find the farm, but she's still going to be able to find the levels in XP and will eventually be able to transition herself into the enemy jungle.
Once you get level 6, the Brood actually starts to win the lane, but it means you have to skill Insatiable Hunger at 6. Otherwise, you'll never be able to solo kill the Axe, and you probably still need like 1 or 2 points in Incapacitating Bite as well. So for the foreseeable future, Sakshika's going to have a great time.
That's a nice call here. Yeah. Look at the spins coming out. Jonas and Fan having to back himself off of the spins, bringing him very, very low. Top lane Come With Me was looking for a Nightmare setup, but isn't going to be able to find it as Era backs himself up here on the top lane. But mid lane as well, DK continue to have a pretty nasty time here against this Gyrocopter. 12 for 0 on Limp compared to the 21 for 4 on Necroman.
I gotta say, Burden's laning phase is set to it. It's so smart. So smart. It's set to impress, and so far, as we expected, the Chen finally does smoke up here. He's level 5. So he's got the level 3 Holy Persuasion. His creeps, he does have a Dark Troll Summoner, so this gank is going to be potent. And since Nip haven't given away any kills, this could be the momentum they're looking for in the early game. Yeah,
it looks like he might find the Bane here, but the smoke is dispelled and he can't quite get in range. Hero will find the slow, but there's going to be an arrow on Terra. That's going to stop a fair bit of damage. Come With Me looking to defensively Nightmare himself. The Holy Persuasion comes down. The Faith has been tested, but he's going to be able to salve himself. It looks like he'll get out. Sing Sing does manage to leap away. Gets Troll trapped up, but it's not enough to hold him down for long enough. He gets out. Now there's a Nightmare on Tanskin. He's going to need to body block this arrow, and he certainly will do. There's no chance of Sing Sing getting an arrow through that farm, but still 4.5 minutes in, no one dying yet, as both teams struggling to find the pickoffs, but I kind of feel it's just favouring the side of Burden United, this passiveness. Oh, shoot arrow, hit arrow. Silkid is there with a Voodoo Restoration, so Burden United aren't going to be able to follow that one off, but it's a bit of a BM arrow to the Chen, say, yeah, come back to the lane and try that again, my friend.
The Viper's still getting a slight edge in terms of farm, so I would say that the dual lanes are doing what they need to. They're making sure the Brood's not like being an absolute menace. Middle lane, the Gyro is completely free farming, so that's great for Burden. The Chen's impact is really yet to be seen. It was just unfortunate that he went in low ground, because that way the smoke gets broken and come with me. Like, he knew the gank was going to be coming soon. So I think that's why he was positioned there in the first place. So very well played in this early game from Burden.
I mean, I kind of feel at this point, potentially the first time we're going to see a kill is when the IO gets to relocate and they look for the ganks, because at the moment I don't see anyone killing anyone at this point.
That's pretty passive. It's kind of like a lot of lanes that you really want to try to hard pressure with. Like, you pick a Chen to pressure, you pick Brood to pressure. Vayne Mirana is like the same thing, but it's just so many lanes are so strong that no one really has that much incentive to move around. And because of the fact that Burden are Radiant, they're also able to do this creep stacking here, as we're going to see another Chen movement as well coming towards bottom.
And as you were saying at the start, this is the smart one. This is the lane that you're most likely to find the pick off on. Paris all alone, and I don't think he suspects this one bit. Handscan comes through, they'll be able to find the troll trap. Jonas and Van going in with the insatiable hunger. Paris will get off the call here and tries to back himself up behind the tower. He is level 7, he is fairly tanky here. They're going to look to try and dive him, but Handscan's taking the tower hits. Paris trying to turn around here, he salves himself up. Handscan gets low, is able to toggle the aggro of the tower off, and Jonas and Fan trying to dive through the tree line, looking for Paris, but Paris gets the dog onto the Broodmother. That's your first blood there. And now Handscan, he's got to go. He's got to go. He's too low. He can't hang around here. And fantastic play there from Paris on the axe.
And that is why you need points in the incapacitating bite if you're going to dive. Like, the thing is, if he had even a little bit of a slow, like an Orb of Venom or something to be able to stop him from getting under the tower as quickly, he probably would have gotten a kill.
An arrow was thrown there towards Limp in the mid lane. It's just going to be off point as it gets blocked by the range creep. But still, Burden United, I think they're going to be very happy with this early game.
Yeah, when the Chen ganks your lane and you get first blood, I think you're going to be more than pleased. Now, Sakshka, he has the choice if he wants to go for the Blink Dagger or the Vanguard. He has enough money for either, and Handscan low health jungling.
This is not smart. Oh, I guess he didn't spot him there. The night vision.
Yeah, it's nighttime.
Yeah, just out of range there. Handscan living on the edge on this Chen.
Too close, too close. If he had given away that kill, I think that was within Brain Sap range, actually. He only had like a, yep, definitely is. He has level 3 Brain Sap, so it would have been an immediate kill. Invis rune here on Limp in the middle lane.
Yeah. Limp trying to set up a Dragon's Tail onto Sing Sing. There's a wraparound coming from the Chen, but at the same time, there's also an Io and a Gyro here. The Chen's got no chance coming through this way around. And if he does, a fight is going to kick off. Maybe it's going to be okay because Gyro now being left alone as Io and Mirana head up to the top rune. He's just positioning himself here on the sidelines, Chen, waiting for the jump in and axe. I mean, 7.5 minutes thanks to that first, but he's got Vanguard finished, so I mean, you've got no chance killing this Chen really as a Brood on his own. It's going to be a tough one in the top lane. There is a Nightmare Terror, but the range creep blocking the potential arrow from Sing Sing. He might still look for it here as Era is hanging around. We're going to see Seal Kid come into the lane, and that'll be enough to scare Sing Sing off as the cast comes out. The bounce is true for the creep wave there, and no one dying on this top lane. Still 8 minutes in, and just with that one kill going to the side of Burden United, the net worths favouring the side of the Radiant as well. 3.7k on your Necroman Gyro, and 3.6k on your Paris's Axe. So things looking very healthy for Burden.
It's a fairly negligible lead, but the biggest problem?
Error. Nightmare into the arrow. They've got a cooldown as well. Nice. Everything getting dropped onto this Viper, and he will indeed die there. Maybe seeing if they can chase down Seal Kid as well. He just get himself behind the tower, and Sing Sing doesn't want to dive for this one, but that's another pick off there for Burden United.
Yeah, it's a great start for Burden. The Nip Chen really just hasn't been able to do a whole heck of a lot. Thankfully, he'll have some room now mid, as there's a pretty big rotation coming out from Burden. They gank top lane. They're going to look to trade tier 1 towers. And this trade does favor Nip. Like, they need to try to get something done on the map instead of just going for straight up kills, because Handscan has had very little success with his ganks thus far, one of them even resulting in Burden getting a kill. So I'd say this is the best possible choice that they can have, because just straight up fighting is probably not going to work this game for Nip.
And yeah, I mean, the push, obviously, for Nip is very strong. So, as you're saying, if they can avoid the fights and get the momentum going down the lanes, they're going to find themselves in a much healthier mid-game than they've started off for in this early game. Paris just heading down to deal with the odd spider. And we'll scare Jonas and Fan back off. And I mean, your Axe as well, 9.5 minutes in. He's 1,400 gold on his way to the Blink Dagger on top of the Vanguard. And once he's got that, you got to be pretty scared if you're ninjas in pajamas.
It's going to get to a point where he's just going to be like blink, dunk, kill, like all the time. It's going to be really a problem for the Brood. In a 4v4 scenario, we're assuming that the Brood is not going to be contributing much to the team fights. And then Nip are going to have like Viper, Witch Doctor, DK, Chen. I still think Burden's 4 heroes is stronger, like Wisp, Gyro, Mirana, Bane. Like, their fighting potential is just so much better. Unless the Witch Doctor gets some crazy good cask into a Death Ward off. So I'm not sure how NiP are going to play around the Brood in the future, because it hasn't killed the tier 1, and heck, the thing's not even at half health, and a lot of the times when you pick a Brood, you want the lane to be pressured much more than this.
They really want to get Paris now. We see a heavy rotation towards the bottom lane. Moonlight Shadow will be popped. They do have a sentry that they drop outside of the tower range, and there's your second sentry. They're trying to control it, but the spins, they're bringing them so low. Hanscam will pop the Hand of God, but Birdie United might turn this one around as Necroman Miners come with me. The whole gang comes into the bottom lane. They've killed the Chen, they've killed the Brood. Viper drops as well as a double kill here for Sing Sing, and what a reaction there from Birdie United. Paris, he calls them in, and he's going to find more now. Limp in the tree lines, he's going to get dunked as well. 4 heroes falling on the side of NIP, and Birdie United backing up Paris and absolutely destroying the side of Ninjas there. Another gank and rotation gone very wrong for the side of the Dire.
Early game went from not great to disaster for NiP. That was possibly the worst thing that could have happened. They go on the tankiest hero under a tier 1. I think they were just feeling a little bit concerned because, like we talked about, Hansken hadn't really been able to get anything during the early game, and for the time being, Burden just have total domination right now. The Gyrocopter is totally free farming, 89 CS at 11 minutes in. Blink Vanguard at 11 minutes on the Axe. Like, the Brood is already dealt with.
Yes.
That hero will never be a problem in this game.
Well, and that will be another tower here for the side of Birdie United. I think the impressive thing as well is, well, the great thing for Birdie United is because of the fact that they're not having to look for these fights. NIP are just kind of giving it to them, meaning that Birdie United, they're still able to focus on the farm. I mean, Necroman, he's top of the board in terms of CS, and he's top of the board in terms of net worth as well. So NIP, they're kind of handing it to Birdie United on a silver plate here.
Well, they kind of have to, though. That's a style of lineup they've picked. All arrow on Seal Kid.
He's got the Starstorm as well, maxed out as well for that burst damage. Walks away as the second fall down catches him. That's the kill for Sing Sing. He's going to get found by Era and Hansken here. Simply leaps away. Era thinking about chasing this one. Won't be able to find the range there for that Viper strike, and another pick off for Birdie United. And I don't know, mate. I don't see how NIP are going to be able to get themselves on the board at this point, because the heroes on Birdie United are looking pretty scary 12 minutes in.
Everyone is either getting farm or kills. Like, Sing traded farm with the Viper, and sure, he didn't keep up with Era's overall farm, but Era died twice already. He died once top to a gank, and then he died again bottom. So now it's not a matter of how much creep kills you have, it's what can you do with your Chen if you're NiP. Like, just playing it passive, Hansken, he's level 7, but still not able to do anything in Arrow.
Lane. The Fiend's Grip set up there for the relocate in from Necroman and Minus. They've picked out the Viper. They're going to look for Sealkid and Limp because they just walked straight into the cooldown. Sealkid's going to blow up. Limp will fall as well. Limp didn't manage. Oh no, maybe Limp lives. No, it looks like they won't be able to. Oh, they got the Nightmare. Yeah, they get themselves back in range. He does go down. It's a double kill for Sing Sing, a double kill for Come With Me. They do lose the IO. So IO there.
Niffer on the board.
Feeding a little bit too much, but it's 11 for 1, and otherwise it's looking pretty good for Birdie United. And I don't know what the NiP do now at this point. I mean, they've got a lineup for pushing, for ganking, but it's just not happened for the side.
Well, Jonas is doing the only thing that he can do, which is try to backdoor to tier 1. There's no backdoor protection for those towers, so he might be able to get that. Then maybe he goes top, because I don't know if he's ever going to be able to make any pressure in this lane. Like, if Paris is sitting nearby, it's just blink call into a dust, and you could just be dead.
What are we seeing here? Or just Sing Sing sticking around there for a bit of time. Doesn't look like NiP are going to be able to make the jump onto him. But it's looking like it's going to be a tough old matchup here for NIP. And in a series as well that they really need to find the victories if they want to keep themselves in league play.
It's very important for NiP to win this game, as you had already mentioned. Like, yesterday they got pretty lucky because they took a game off Vega and they also got a death loss. So it was a 2-0 for NiP. Had they lost those 2 games, they would have been at 8 losses, which means that, or no, it was a 6 or 8 losses. I think it was one or the other, but either way, they would have been in very bad shape.
They might find Sing Sing here. They've got the control of one of the stomps. He's going to be able to get himself away. Has the heal from Nuts on this IO, and he's going to be okay. Necroman just coming in with a cooldown, dispersing the entire fight, forcing NIP back, and even contemplating going back in there, but very nice reaction there. Again from the side of Birdie United, saving Sing Sing's backside.
This is just so hard for NiP. Like, where are they supposed to go?
Here we go, Fiend's Grip onto Limp. He's fairly tanky. Is he tanky enough, though? The damage from Sing Sing Necroman. Come With Me, finishing it off with the Brain Sap. That's a kill onto your DK. And it's just getting worse and worse for NIP. I'm trying to look for positive things to say about the side, Draskell, but I'm struggling.
I, too, am struggling as somebody who has watched a heck of a lot of Dota. The problem with the Chen is, even with the changes to making the creeps more mobile, the heroes that he has to gank just don't die. Like, he went bottom, which I feel was still the best call in the early game. He ends up playing a little bit too aggressive on the Brood.
Kid.
Oh, see ya.
You don't want to walk into a Sing Sing. Sing Sing makes quick work there of that Witch Doctor. And Sing Sing, pretty rich at the moment. 5.6k on his Marana, 2k gold on top of the face boots, Aquila. I mean, with this kind of momentum, what does he go for next? Does he just go for straight up damage and pushing on him like the Maelstrom?
Manta's pretty common, drums are common. Some people even like Diffusal. I think it's very strong early game to make sure that you can always line up your arrows. But no matter what he goes, it's like they're miles ahead. He can buy pretty much anything at this point. That's the state in the game that we are currently at.
Necroman's going to be able to clear himself up some ancient stacks here as well. So he was already top of the net worth board. He's going to be beyond that now. Now heading into the 8Ks at 16 minutes in. And that's closing in on the completed S&Y on top of the Aquila and the treads and the drums. So this is going to be a pretty stat-heavy Gyrocopter. You're going to have a tough old time bringing him down.
Yeah, I think they just plan on playing more aggressive during the mid-game. Like, eventually, Sakshka's going to leave bottom lane, and once the SNY is finished, maybe they look to just try to push into some tier 2s, or maybe get the tier 1 mid, and then try to secure Roche.
Oh,
we missed.
The call is just off center here, and they won't be able to find the Broodmother. And at this point, as soon as Axe or Bane finds someone, that person's going to die, because a relocate's going to come in from Aya.
Yeah, even if you get Nightmared, you're just going to get relocated on. Doesn't even have to be a grip. Nip now. The smoke here, middle lane, looking for anyone, but Sing is not the best target. They need to find a way to stun him before he can leap away. Like, they're so unsure if they can kill him. They're actually just not even going towards him at all. They're going to loop around, I think, and maybe go for top.
Tower is under attack.
Well, it's going to be hard for them to find anything here because the tier 1 is still there in the lane. They're not going to be able to wrap around that way. They're going to have to go directly across the river back into their own jungle. At the moment on the side of Bird United, it is both Necroman and indeed Io. My nuts here on the Wisp, and they've found the Io. Can they catch him out? They pop the ultimate from Limp. They're trying to get themselves in range, but they can't do it. Moonlight Shadow from Sing Sing is going to be more than enough to get them out. And, well, they're actually TPing in the side of Birding United because Paris wants to fight. He's under the cover. He's going to be able to find a nice setup there for the call onto Hansken. The spin's coming through as well. There will be a paralyzing cast. The Hand of God is popped. They will survive. They chop the Death Wall, but Silken has to cancel it straight away. They've lost the gem. Witch Doctor going down as well. Limp and Arrow on the retreat. Arrow takes an arrow to the backside. He goes down. GG well played is called. 17 minutes in, 17 kills for the side of Birding United. NIP only able to kill the Io in this matchup, and NIP, they've not been on form recently, and this was a disaster in the words of Sing for them.
They got wrecked. Like, the early Chen ganks were so important for their team. Like, Hansken needed to get something. If he had killed the Axe bottom instead of the Brood going in and getting first blooded when he dove the tower, maybe that lane could have been pressured to a point where Burden, you know, maybe they have to send down Come With Me, maybe they have to send down the Wisp, right? Maybe the lanes have to break down a tiny bit. Because when you pick a Chen and you don't force any reaction from the enemy team, what is your Chen pick really giving you? Because he's not that great in the mid to late game when Burden are going to have 2, if not 3 kind of semi-cores with the Gyrocopter, the Marana, and the Axe. You've already given up your early game advantage by Burden's really strong dual lanes that we saw a 3-man smoke as well, attempted first blood on Come With Me, that they couldn't even kill the Bane. Like, there was nowhere for them to go.
It was painful.
It was not a close game. Not even a little bit. I thought at the last pick, the Marana seemed a little bit sketchy, and then I thought about it after seeing the lanes, and I was like, well, I guess if the Chen literally cannot gank anywhere but the safe lane Axe,
it's going to work out.
It's going to be just fine, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to hand it to the side of Burning United. The lanes were very smart. They played them very well, and NIP literally just couldn't do anything against them. It was a great idea against the Chen to have this kind of dual lane mid, dual lane off lane, because it means that the Chen's going to have a very hard time finding the ganks. You know, against 2 lanes that you normally expect to at least have a solo mid laner or a solo off laner. You're not going to find them, and he looked for them at the bottom lane, but it was already on a level 7 Axe, and, well, to cut a long story short, it didn't go great.
No.
It didn't go great for the rotations of NIP, and, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first game of the day. Obviously, as always here in the League Player, it is a best of 2 series, so we are going to have a second game between these 2 sides. So let's hope, for the sake of equality, that we see a little bit of a better game come out from NIP, because they're going to have to certainly step the game up after that performance. But from myself and Draskell, we'll catch you in a bit. We're going to send you over to a quick commercial break, and then over to our guests and hosts for some insight on that game at hand. We'll see you guys in a bit for game 2.